UFC is going to Shanghai this weekend for a card that's gonna start at 3 a.m. Eastern Time. Can Johnny Walker land another crazy finish? Can Mingyang Zhang turn Johnny Walker yet into another meme? Does Aljamain Sterling get a title shot with a win over Brian Ortega? Can Salsa Boy Waldo Cortes-Acosta fluke decision his way into yet another victory? I answer all those questions and predict every fight on the card for this weekend in this video, so let's get into the picks. Now, before we get into UFC Shanghai, let's do a quick recap of UFC 319. We went 7-5 on picks, which is pretty good for a dog-heavy card. We got Lerone Murphy correct. MVP we sniped Tim Elliott by sub. That was huge. And we also had Jakar Close as an underdog. So pretty great night, and we had Khamzat as the last leg for basically all our parlays. You can see over here, we have the bets. We cashed nearly every single one. We did take some dog shots on Deani Barbosa and Andrade. I still think Deani Barbosa got robbed clearly in broad daylight. We should have got a W for that one. I also had Chase Hooper in a small parlay, and I was saying I was leaning at Alexander Hernandez, and turns out I should have just went all in and picked him. But you know, with this trajectory, with these picks, with these bets, I think we're going to do pretty good for Shanghai. First fight of the card for UFC Shanghai is Diyar Nurgozhay taking on Uran Satybaldiev. Now, what are the styles of these guys? Well, Diyar is a striker who can mix in grappling, and Uran is a grappler who can mix in striking. If we're going to look at the advantages, Diyar has the power upside. He can go to takedowns, and he has decent takedown defense from what we've seen so far. On Uran's side, he's going to be way bigger. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage, 2-inch height advantage. He's going to have the takedown upside, and honestly speaking, he just reminds me of a light heavyweight Miktebek Orlbai. Some important notes you might need to know. Diyar just lost as a -400 favorite against Brenson Ribeiro. He got clipped on the feet. He went to the ground, had dominant position, got reversed by a Kimura, and lost by submission. He also throws with very low volume, and he's got a questionable gas tank and a questionable fight resume overall. At least Uran, he was a LFA light heavyweight champ. LFA is a great promotion. He got a few wins there, became light heavyweight champ. He just came off a loss against Martin Buday at the heavyweight level, so this guy is huge. All right, he is humongous. His last win was also by Kimura, and Diyar's last loss is Kimura. 1 + 1 might equal 2. Stop. If you're watching this video, that one's for you. Uran does throw at low volume, though, but at the end of the day, I'm taking Uran Satybaldiev to win by round 2 sub. I think he just has a force about him. He's going to be super long in the cage, and the only way I see Diyar winning is if he lands some type of flash knockout. But Uran has shown me in his regional footage against Martin Buday that he's a dog. It's not easy to get Uran out of there, and I think Uran, with the style similar to Miktebek Orlbai, is just going to keep plodding forward, keep getting takedowns, and eventually submit Diyar. Next fight on the card is Rongzhu taking on Su Young Yu. What are the styles of these guys? Rongzhu, he's basically like every other Road to the UFC alumni that has made it into the UFC. They have a grappling base, and they like to swing. Su Young Yu, on the other hand, is a grapple-heavy guy, not a lot of striking. He kind of reminds me of a Korean version of Merab. Now, if you were to pick either one, I'm going to give you reasons to pick them and reasons to fade them. Starting with Rongzhu, he's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage. He's shown good takedown defense so far. I believe he will have the striking advantage. He has KO power. He's got volume upside. He's never been submitted in his 9 losses. And I think he's going to have a huge cardio advantage. As for Su Young Yu, he averages nearly 5 takedowns per fight, and he's shooting for over 20 per fight. So, like I said, he's the Korean Merab. He's not easy to finish, and he's not easy to get off. So he's going to have the big grappling upside. Now, if you were to fade either guy, Rongzhu, he has been KO'd 3 times. So his striking durability isn't the greatest, and 3 of his 4 last fights, whether he won or lost, have ended by split or majority decision. That just shows me he fights on razor-thin margins. As for Su Young Yu, he throws with very low volume, and if he doesn't get the takedowns, he could look horrible, and he doesn't really finish many people once he gets the fight to the ground. So Su Young Yu, I think, is decision win or bust. He has no submission upside in this fight. He's got no KO upside. As for Rongzhu, he has more UFC fights under his belt, and he has great submission defense, and he's shown good takedown defense. He's had to show it because nearly every guy he's fought tries to continuously take him down. For all those reasons, we're going with Rongzhu, the underdog, plus 110. I think he can win by decision. I wouldn't be surprised if, yet again, it goes to the scorecards and Rongzhu loses by split or majority decision. But it is in Shanghai, all right? Chinese people will be there chanting him on, all right? I don't think it's going to be Chinese judging, but, you know, if it does come down to the scorecards, what wins, damage or control? I think damage will supersede control, and for that reason, I think Rongzhu wins. Next fight on the card, we got Yizha taking on Westin Wilson. What are the styles of these guys? Yizha is just like Rongzhu, typical road to the UFC alumni, grappling base, but he likes to swing. As for Westin Wilson, he's a grappler. He trains with Wonder Boy, but he can't strike. Westin Wilson is a reoccurring UFC meme. It seems like every time they put him up against someone, he is a humongous underdog, and that's because his striking is really poor. And as for his recent-ish win streak prior to getting knocked out by Gene Silva, he even admitted in an interview that a lot of those fights were cherry-picked, so not the best look. Reasons to pick either guy. Yizha is fighting in his hometown. He's going to be 8 years younger, and Westin Wilson, even though he's a submission merchant, he has been submitted before, so it's not like even though he's good at jiu-jitsu, he can't get submitted. He can get submitted. But for Westin Wilson, he's going to have the submission upside. He's fighting a guy who's winless in the UFC. Yizha is 0-2. Westin can also pull off an unk performance. We've been seeing a lot of unks winning in the octagon lately. And as for size, you know, height and reach, that goes to Westin Wilson. Now, if you were to fade either guy, I mean, Yizha is, number one, -4, 1,200. That's humongous, way too wide of a line. And as for the striking, Yizha's striking is probably worse than Westin Wilson. All right, the only reason that you would pick against Westin Wilson is because you think the guy that he's fighting has potential to just completely starch him, completely knock him out cold. But Yizha does not. Yizha is a grappler. So for those reasons, we're doing it. All right? We're going with Westin Wilson to win by sub. Oh, man. This is going to look either extremely genius or extremely idiotic. Because I think anyone that looks at this betting line, at this fight, they also come to the same conclusion. Westin Wilson has value. No one looks at this and is like, oh, let me throw Yizha in a parlay. And I think I'm falling for the value trap. If the fight goes to the ground, I think Westin Wilson can sub him. And Yizha is going to shoot takedowns, so the fight will be on the ground. So, I mean, unless Yizha gets a ground and pound or the lazy decision, I think Westin Wilson can most definitely win this, and I'm taking him by sub. Next fight on the card is Michel Pereira taking on Kyle Daukaus. Now, as for the styles, Michel Pereira, he's an explosive first-round merchant, all right? If it goes out of round one, it's basically a coin flip what type of Michel Pereira we're going to see. He is a ballet dancer at the end of the day. He's just throwing all types of spinning stuff, very low volume as well. As for Kyle Daukaus, he's a heavy grappler. He's got decent striking. If you were to pick either guy, Pereira, I would argue, has big power on the feet. He has decent takedown defense. This is going to be a huge step down in competition. He's going from fighting Fluffy Hernandez as a main event and Abus Magomedov on the main card to going all the way down to the early prelims in Shanghai against Kyle Daukaus. Also on a 2-fight losing streak. He needs a win. If Michel Pereira were to come through at any point, it would probably be here. Kyle Daukaus, if you were to pick him, he did take some time off after his UFC run. He got, some wins on the regional scene. And his submission offense is decent. I think 11 of his 15 wins are by sub. Obviously, if you were to pick against Michel Pereira, it is because he's just very hard to trust. You never know which version of Michel you're going to get. He also barely threw anything with power against Abus Magomedov. He was just sticking to the jab, sticking to a low leg kick. If he does that against Daukaus, he could be in trouble because Daukaus shoots takedowns. Daukaus has really good BJJ. So if this becomes like a low-volume Pereira performance, Daukaus could look live. But I cannot take Kyle Daukaus because he's got a horrific chin. All right, even in the regional wins that he has, I watched some of them back. He's getting clipped. He's getting dropped. He's getting wobbled. I think Michel Pereira finishes Kyle in the first round. I know it's really hard to pick that because he's very untrustworthy and Daukaus could look good after a long UFC layoff. But I'm still sticking with Pereira. Next fight on the card is Rongzhu taking on Austin Hubbard. Rongzhu is a well-rounded striker. He's got good takedown defense. He's going against Austin Hubbard, who's a heavy wrestler, and he's got some decent striking to him as well. As for reasons to pick either guy, Rongzhu is going to throw way more volume on the feet. He's going to be 8 years younger, and in my opinion, he just fought a younger Austin Hubbard, Cody Steele. Cody Steele has similar striking to Austin Hubbard, which is mid, and Cody Steele always goes to wrestling takedowns, just like Austin Hubbard. Rongzhu just made easy work of him. So Austin Hubbard, if you were to pick him, he does have UFC experience on his side. He does have the takedown upside as well. And he's also on a 2-fight losing streak, so if he were to lose this, he's probably getting cut, so he needs to win this fight. Reasons to not pick Rongzhu, well, he is minus 250. That could be seen as a wide line. And he also doesn't really have a lot of finishing ability. He only has 1 KO in 5 UFC fights. If you're taking Rongzhu, you're probably just thinking he's going to be quicker, and you think he's going to outland Hubbard and defend takedowns. As for Hubbard, he's a very slow striker. 8 years older, he's getting old, he's fighting in China, which is Rongzhu's hometown, and he also fights on thin margins. Austin Hubbard, in his wins, it's by split or majority decision, and his losses are by split or majority decision. So, I'm saying a lot of garbage here, but I'm going with Rongzhu to win by decision. I think he's just going to land more than Hubbard, and I think he's going to defend the takedowns. And I think he's going to land some big shots on him. Next fight on the card is Loner Kavanagh taking on Charles Johnson. As for the styles of these guys, Loner is really well-rounded. He's got good striking. He's got good takedowns. As for Charles Johnson, he's only really known for one thing, and it's his cardio. All right, he's got really great cardio, and because he has great cardio, he can throw with high volume. If you were to pick Loner Kavanagh, you might do so because he's got the takedown upside. He's got 1-punch KO power. He's going to be 8 years younger than Charles Johnson, and I think he's fighting in his hometown. He reps the Chinese flag, as you can see, but he's not. He doesn't look Chinese. I didn't look into it that much, but I think he's fighting in his... Anyway, reason to pick Charles Johnson. He's going to have the volume striking advantage. Obviously, he's going to have better cardio. He's fought way better guys in the UFC, and he's also going to be the longer fighter with 3+ inches of reach. Now, if you were to not pick Loner Kavanagh, you might do so because he's got questionable durability. Felipe Dos Santos nearly knocked him out in round 1, and this is the best fighter he will have fought to date. So, good reasons to not pick Kavanagh. As for not picking Charles Johnson, he is a slow starter, okay? And most of Charles Johnson's wins, or even losses, he often loses the first round. He often is fighting from behind, and he's got questionable takedown defense. Nearly every guy that wants to get a takedown on Charles Johnson has gotten a takedown on Charles Johnson. So for those reasons, everything here combined, I'm going with Loner Kavanagh. I don't think there's enough here to take a dog shot on Charles Johnson. He's a decision merchant. He's going to have no finishing upside in this fight. All the finishing upside goes to Kavanagh. He can win by sub, KO, or decision. So for all those reasons, he's also the younger, quicker fighter. I'm going with Loner Kavanagh to win by decision. Next fight on the card is the Legend of Maheshate taking on Young. As for the styles of these guys, Maheshate is simply a high-power striker. He has nothing else going for him. He doesn't throw with high volume. He doesn't have grappling. He simply has high power. As for Young, he's a well-rounded MMA fighter, mainly a striker, but he can mix in takedowns. Since to pick Maheshate, well, he is only 25 years old, so since he's really young, he could be improving fight to fight still. He's fighting in his hometown, Shanghai, China, and he's got one-shot KO power. He KO'd Steve Garcia, and that KO is aging very well. As for Young, he's going to have a slight volume advantage. He throws a little bit more in the feet. I think he has the power upside as well, and he fought two pretty good guys recently, Quillan Selkield and Evan Elder, and he had a pretty good account of himself in both fights. Evan Elder kind of outstruck him, and Quillan just took him down, but Maheshate is not going to do either of those things. Reasons to not take Maheshate: he did get knocked down 5 times in his last 3 fights, and he also has no grappling to go to as a plan B. So if the striking is not working for Maheshate, he just loses. Young at least has plan B. He can go to grappling. He also could get counter KO'd. That is Maheshate's wheelhouse, landing a counter. He's also yet to win in the UFC, including the Contender Series. He's here for seemingly no good reason. He didn't win on Contender Series. He didn't win his short notice debut. Now they're giving him a layup, I guess, against Maheshate. He could just be a regional can. It's hard to determine what gauge. I'm going with Young by KO. All right, I have one of my subscribers, MMA BG. Shout out to him. He told me to pick Gage Young, and after a bunch of research, I still have no reasons to pick Maheshate. So I'm going with Gage Young to actually find the finish. Round 2 KO. Next fight on the card is Taiyilake. Nueraji? Taking on Kiefer Crosbie. Now, the styles of these guys. Taiyilake is a flashy striker. He's got high power, and he throws lots of spinning stuff. That's basically how I put it. And Kiefer Crosbie is a pressure-forward boxer. So if this stays standing, it could look even. All right? The line is wide, but it could look close if this is simply standing. Reasons to pick Taiyilake. He's got, oh man, there's a lot of reasons. 6+ inch reach advantage. He's going to be 11 years younger. He's going to have a huge speed advantage. He throws with lots of volume, and he's also fighting in his hometown, Shanghai, China. As for Kiefer Crosbie, he has UFC experience, but he's also 0-2. So is that even a reason to take him? Like, and his recent losses are by sub, back-to-back, but Taiyilake is a striker. So if Taiyilake keeps it standing, you know, maybe there's a chance for Kiefer to pull off the upset. As for reasons to not take Taiyilake, he rarely shoots takedowns. He has only 1 win by sub. He's never been to a decision, and he's not a proven commodity. This guy could just be an 11-1 complete Chinese can. No offense, but that could be the case. And at -470, that is a big price tag to trust someone. As for Kiefer, horrible ground game. Submitted twice in his back-to-back UFC performances. He's exhibited very low fight IQ. I mean, Kevin Jousset submitted this guy. Kevin Jousset is not submitting anyone. Kevin Jousset submitted Kiefer Crosbie. He just has questionable wins on his resume as well. I'm taking Taiyilake. All right, now get ready. I'm taking him by submission. Taiyilake's most recent win is literally a submission, and it is his only submission win on his resume. I think Taiyilake knows what he needs to do to win this fight. Get this to the ground, get a submission. He got an armbar. I think he can do that here too. I mean, if it stays striking, he can probably knock out Kiefer, but path of least resistance, why not try to flex off the grappling, Taiyilake? Next fight on the card is Sumudaerji taking on Kevin Borjas. Now, I do have a long breakdown here, but what you need to know is Sumudaerji is going to have a 4+ inch reach advantage. 6 of his 7 losses are by submission. All right, 6 of his 7. Kevin Borjas is not a submission specialist. These are both powerful strikers. I think Sumudaerji can win this fight. He's 13-0 to the KO, fighting in his hometown. He's going to be the way bigger striker, and I don't really know how you can take Kevin Borjas. He does throw a little more volume, but he's going to be at a huge reach disadvantage, huge size disadvantage. Sumudaerji at least has a couple decent UFC wins. Kevin Borjas, I mean, Ronaldo Rodriguez is his only really good win. I'm taking Sumudaerji to win this by decision. I think he can just outpoint Kevin Borjas at a distance. And if Kevin Borjas wants to force the fight into the pocket, I think Sumudaerji, with his 13 KOs, can get him out of there. Next fight on the card is Sergey Pavlovich taking on Salsa Boy, Waldo Cortes-Acosta. Now, I skipped the styles. We know their styles. Sergey is one-shot KO or bust, and Waldo is a volume striker with decent power, decent grappling. If you were to pick Sergey, it's obviously because he's got a 6-inch reach advantage, and he's got one-shot KO power. And against Biggie Boy, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, he mixed in takedowns. He actually showed added wrinkles to his game, which I like to see. As for Waldo, he's going to be throwing more volume on the feet. He's a decision wizard. 7-1 to the decision. Never been finished in MMA. He's gotten KO'd in boxing a couple times, but MMA, he has done very well. And he's also 5-0 in his last fights. Maybe even more than that. He has a better career trajectory than Sergey, in my opinion. If you were to not pick Sergey Pavlovich, it would be because he has not looked the same since his Tom Aspinall fight. Tom Aspinall KO'd him cold, and then he goes out there against Volkov and has a sparring match. Then he goes out there against Biggie Boy, who he's supposed to knock out on paper, and takes him down and barely throws any volume on the feet. Very weird look from Sergey Pavlovich, and if he doesn't get the finish in the first couple minutes, he's going to look bad. He's going to throw way low volume. The output slows down as the fight progresses, and it's just not a good look. As for Waldo, he did get KO'd twice in boxing, like I said. He could get overpowered quick because his takedowns aren't the best, and if Sergey is just powering forward like he usually does, it could look bad. And it's also hard to get into the pocket as Waldo because he's going to be 6 inches shorter on reach. But I think if Sergey doesn't get the KO early, all right, his takedowns are not going to work against Waldo. His output is going to slow down as the fight goes on. Waldo is a decision merchant. He actually does better as the fight goes on. So for all those reasons, I'm actually going with Salsa Boy plus 190 to win by decision. I don't think I've actually picked Waldo in a fight that he's had in the UFC so far. He's just had very poor performances, but he just continues to win. Like, he just does better. He just does. He does more volume, and he has good durability, and that's basically all you need at the heavyweight level to succeed nowadays. So I'm going with Salsa Boy. I think it's going to be more exciting if he wins anyway. Next fight on the card is Brian Ortega taking on Aljamain Sterling. As for their styles, Brian Ortega is a grappler with decent volume striking. Aljamain is a wrestler with decent grappling, and he's also a decent volume striker. Now, if you were to pick Brian Ortega, it would be because he is a high-level BJJ guy. And if the fight hits the mat, he could find a sub against Aljo. He's never been submitted himself, Ortega, and he's also the Eagle. All right, Brian Ortega is the Eagle. What that means, I can't tell you, but that's what he is. He is something about the Eagle's beak, and the Eagle breaks its beak, and then it grows back. If you were to take Aljo, because career trajectory, all right, Aljo has been winning recently at featherweight. He is coming off of that loss to Movsar Evloev, but in that fight, you could make the argument that he actually won. It was razor close. And he's been asking to fight Brian Ortega for a while, so I think he's well prepared. And Aljo himself has never been subbed. So we got two high-level grapplers that have both never been submitted. And the striking advantage is going to go to Aljamain Sterling. And Brian Ortega has horrible striking defense, horrible takedown defense, and he's looked very washed recently. I don't think there is a world or scenario where I can possibly take Brian Ortega in this fight. It is hard to take Aljo at minus 300, considering his main path to victory is to win by decision. I don't think he can actually finish Ortega on the feet, and I don't think he can submit him on the ground. So trusting someone as a big favorite when their only win condition is decision is kind of tough, but I just simply think Ortega does not have it anymore, and I think the featherweight division would be a lot more funky if Aljamain won. So I think Aljamain is the pick and the side to take here. In the main event, we have Johnny Walker taking on Mingyang Zhang. As for their styles, Johnny Walker, he's a meme fighter. All right, at the end of the day, that's the only thing you need to know. Meme fighter. Whenever he's a big dog, it sometimes is good to take, and whenever he's a favorite, you automatically don't take him. He's got powerful striking, and he's got good grappling. Mingyang Zhang, powerful striker, and he's a close elbow merchant, which I think could be a problem in this matchup. All right, Johnny Walker is going to have a 7-inch reach advantage. So if Mingyang Zhang, who's an elbow merchant, he needs to get in close to land the elbow. And Johnny Walker is going to have a long reach. So if Johnny Walker is keeping Mingyang Zhang at a distance, I'm not sure how Mingyang Zhang can knock out Walker unless he puts himself into a very dangerous position where Mingyang Zhang himself can get knocked out. He is 4-0 in the UFC. He does have 4 KOs. He's on a 12-fight round 1 finish streak. And he also shares my birthday. Mingyang Zhang was born the exact same day as me. August 16th, 1998. You're welcome. At the end of the day, there's a lot of reasons to fade either guy. There's a lot of reasons to pick either guy. You know, Johnny Walker, weakest chin in the UFC. He didn't look good against Volkan Oezdemir in his last fight. And his recent wins are only really Unks, Kurlaba, Paul Craig, Anthony Smith. As for Mingyang Zhang, he throws really recklessly. No one's been able to catch him clean in the UFC yet, but he has been knocked out in the past. This is a big step up in competition. He could have a grappling disadvantage. We haven't really seen his grappling tested. Maybe Johnny Walker shoots takedowns. He's training with Walter, the heel hook monster. There's a lot of reasons to take Johnny Walker. A lot of reasons. I'm stalling because I just don't see a world where Mingyang Zhang doesn't win this by round 1 KO. I mean, Johnny Walker can land a flying knee. Johnny Walker can shoot takedowns. But at the end of the day, we haven't seen that in years. And Mingyang Zhang's not tested. Johnny Walker has a good chance. But I just can't get behind it. I'd rather pick Mingyang Zhang and look stupid with Johnny Walker winning than pick Johnny Walker and look 10 times more stupid when Mingyang Zhang meme KOs him. So that's kind of the basic breakdown, and he also has my birthday. I'm going with Mingyang Zhang round 1 KO. As for my confident takes on this card, these have been slapping. We hit every one last week. We missed 1 out of 5 the week before. We missed 1 out of 4 the week before. This is where you make the money, all right? Confident takes. Aljamain Sterling money line. I don't see a scenario where Brian Ortega wins that fight, so Aljo money line. Sumudaerji money line. I think he's just going to outreach and outpoint and out-volume his way to a decision against Kevin Borjas. And Rongzhu money line. I think there's no scenario Austin Hubbard wins. He could get takedowns, but I don't think it's going to work against Rongzhu. He's super powerful. These are my confident takes. As for my sneaky takes, these don't do as well as the confident takes, but they do hit. Because if you were to individually bet everything on my sneaky takes, you'd be profitable. Because we're taking Rongzhu money line, underdog. We're taking Westin Wilson money line, huge underdog, plus 700. I mean, I'm going to bet his sub. I'm doing the Tim Elliott method with Westin Wilson, money line and sub. I'm going to look like an idiot, but it is what it is. The line's way too wide. Waldo Cortes-Acosta money line, he could just get starched in a minute, but if he doesn't get starched in a minute, he has all the winning upside besides that. Gage Young money line, I was going to put him as my confident take, but I don't know. Maheshate in China, he's a counter KO merchant. Gage Young just moves forward. I can see that going badly for Gage Young, but I think he wins. And then Taiyilake Nueraji by sub, okay? He has 10 wins by KO, 1 by sub, and his most recent win is a sub. And Kiefer Crosbie's been sub twice in a row. 1 + 1 might equal 2.